So this is a channel about preparedness and survival. When I read the worst crisis humanity has ever faced, I think it's something we should talk about. Folks, as always, welcome to the Modern Survivalist channel. Stick around for this video. It is super important. I'll explain things you probably have an idea, you probably know of. I'm pretty sure you do, unless you live under a rock. But I'll also explain why this is happening, how this is happening. Why is it that we ended up this way? Why is it that they're still forcing us into this self-destruction? And who is the only one that is apparently not affected by it? Crazy, wild, but interesting nonetheless, right? I don't judge anyone. I just read a couple things, connect a dot here and there, and dude, if 2 + 2 = 4, I don't care how you feel, it still equals 4. Numbers are what they are. History is what it is. You'll notice that in this video, I won't judge anyone. I'll just show you what's happened and what's happening right now. If you want to prepare for all of this, not only do you have the channel, you have my books, 3 Survival Skills and Surviving the Economic Collapse. Get these before they get banned, because if there's one thing we know they will do is ban this kind of information very, very quickly, while you can, physical. No longer going with e-book bullshit, no. Physical, right? That's how you prepare for real. Buy these, and the links are below in Amazon. You're obviously helping me out. You're helping out yourself by understanding things. Do me a favor. If by the end of this video, you honestly learn something, that motherfucker, he's right. Click on the subscribe button so as to not miss other content that will continue to upload. I'm a simple person. I'm pretty limited. I just clicked in here, demographic collapse, and a bunch of videos showed up, you know? Yeah. That's what it says here, demographic collapse, and these are the okay, so India, baby birth, southern, right? So India. So Israel is the only country that is not gonna fall with the demographic collapse. Yeah, these are just coincidences. It could be any country. It just so happens to be that Israel is the only one that will not collapse with the rest of the Western civilization or the Eastern civilization. But anyway, it's not either here. Forget about that for a second. Let's check this out. This is a video I actually recommend you watch. Of course, it doesn't show the entire picture. You will have that in this video. But let's check out the first couple seconds.
Is looming and rural towns are emptying. Well, I'm sure many of you think that this is no big deal. Yes, it will be a problem. But we've already gone through the 2008 crisis, the 2012 financial crisis, COVID, the Ukraine war, all these have...
I survived COVID and the Ukraine war. I'm basically immortal. I'm kind of like Wolverine, I assume. If I survive COVID and the Ukraine war, I may as well have adamantium skeletons.
Events have had a brutal impact on many countries, and yet the world has continued to turn. So is it really such a big danger that we're having fewer and fewer children? In economics, the answer to almost everything is it depends. This is one of the few cases in which we can say yes. A resounding and undeniable yes.
Oh, okay, so it is a big deal. We're all kind of fucked. And all right, so it's not an exaggeration. Okay, let's give them a few seconds.
The birth rate crisis is not just another crisis, but the crisis, with capital letters. In fact, it may signal a change of era, an era of constant economic degradation, sustained for hundreds of years. Visual economic community, human history has never, ever experienced a scenario of sustained demographic loss over time.
Okay, dude, chill. I mean, there's been World War II, which is, of course, the greatest disaster humanity has ever seen. And yeah, persecution, inequality, climate change. We've seen far worse than the end of humanity. Well, okay, that doesn't sound quite right. Anyway, we've seen bad things already.
We're entering a phase that will change human history. Many people don't see all the dangers of this crisis because, after all, the global population is still increasing. But keep in mind one thing. The peak number of births globally was in 2012. Or to put it another way, the world's population behaves like a vehicle with the brakes on.
Okay, so basically you peak in 2012. That's the peak. Like when you're climbing a mountain, once you reach the peak, if you continue, there's no more peak. There's only downhill from there. Wherever you go, after the peak, it's downhill, right? The only way it's going to go is down. And that's what the numbers basically say. Everywhere, well, maybe not everywhere, but almost pretty much everywhere in the world, these are the numbers we're looking at. And he makes some great points in terms of, well, you know, So what's the big deal with less people? I see a lot of people around. You know what? I'm an old grumpy guy. I don't even like seeing this many people. I'm fine with seeing a lot less people. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. The thing is this, guys. The economy needs people. If the population starts dropping, the economy drops along with it. Do you like the economy? You like money? All right. You like buying shit? You like having food on the table. You like all of that stuff. All right, that's not sustainable anymore. Because, and this is all over the world, Europe, of course, United States, of course, even though that guy that does geopolitics and he's always wrong about everything. He says, no, we're doing good. No, you're not. You're in the United States, you're not doing good shit. Latin America, all of those hot Latinas. No, bullshit. Same thing. All of the American continent is fucked. All of Europe is fucked. Asia, Russia, everyone is screwed. Now, you will see Africa, but Africa is not exactly the kind of country that you can expect much development from. All of these countries are rather underdeveloped. And not only that, these numbers look very, very good, like 4.4. That would be awesome. But if you look at the trend, it's dropping even for them. These guys, all of these guys, are slightly behind the curve of where India used to be. India is also getting fucked. India sees a fertility rate dropping. So there will soon be everything is going to be this pink color, right? That's the problem you have. That's the problem we all have. We are all going extinct because we choose to do so. And the video, which I do recommend, explains the economic factors, the aging population, how by 2050, people, the working population will have to spend 50%. You will have to be taxed 50% by 2050 to sustain the retired population. It's impossible. The amount of time you will have to continue to work as you grow older will continue to grow. You will have to literally work until you drop dead, because that's what population aging does. It's not just the depopulation. It's not just there's no more babies. It's not just that. It's right now, countries are getting older and older. People are getting older. We'll have to work more. Not only that, there's less innovation. Younger people are the ones that do all of the innovation, all of the new things. All of that is younger people. It's not old people. Traditionally, it's just the stats show you that. It's young people that innovate and come with new bright ideas and cool things to try out. Older people don't do that, right? So you're losing not only the age, the younger, stronger, harder, the capable of physically doing all of this, but intellectually as well. Fuck, in case you didn't know, by the time you're 40, 50, your IQ starts dropping too. You're not getting any smarter as you grow old. That's bullshit. That's not real. Your IQ continues to drop once you peak. And that's simply the way it goes, okay? Now, this will obviously have a major impact everywhere in the world. How the hell is it that we end up this way? And this is something that visual economic will not explain. I will tell you how we got here by design. We've been designed to end up this way. We've lost our values, we've lost our cultures, we've lost our religions, we've lost our love for our own people, ourselves, and our nation, and we just hate ourselves so fucking much that the only thing we focus on is instant gratification, and we're easy to fool and manipulate. You see the bullshit about no one has kids anymore. Kids, every child costs $1 million. I don't have $1 million. Thus, I cannot afford to even have one child, right? All of this social engineering has been tremendously effective. One of the things that I never see mentioned is the simple fact of you do not have the mechanism by which naturally you would reproduce. Meaning, all of the family planning bullshit, and I'm not even getting into the more sinister Planned Parenthood, evil, demonic bullshit in the United States. No, I'm talking about the means by which you have sex, but you don't have the consequences of sex, which are children. That's what should happen. The moment in which we've had the choice of, okay, I will engage in this pleasurable activity, but I will not have to deal with the consequences of that. People that have the option will say, okay, I won't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with a kid. I just have the fun part, but I don't deal. That change, the ability to control fertility and pregnancy, especially, of course, by women, That's a massive change. Another massive change is equality, feminism, and all of this. Back in the times of Genghis Khan and whatnot, there was no choice. Back in the times of, shit that's happening right now, you would just conquer someone, you have all of their people, you have all of their women, and they are all instantly pregnant, and they will start making soldiers for your army. That's how it has worked historically. But no, we're now more civilized. We now have, rights for everyone, or anyway, whatever that bullshit it is that they're selling. How the hell is it that we got here? How is it that people started thinking that having children was not a good idea? What happened with the pride of a woman having her children and her house, her man, dinner ready for her man when he came back from his office work or the factory work or whatever it is? She was, the pride and joy of her life was her house, her kids, her husband, how all of that would translate into a sense, the trad wife thing. There was no trad wife. That was a woman. And by the time you were like 18, you better have a husband in line, because if not, you were a crazy old cat lady if you were like 22-year-old and not married. How is it that everything changed so much? By design. And if we go back to some of the darker, evil times, stuff like when the evil Nazis were burning books. That was a time of lack of intelligence. Who burns books? Right. Well, the Nazis did that. The Germans of the Second World, they banned and burned like 3,000 books, almost like or 5,000. Numbers are along those lines. 3,000 to 5,000. The Germans were banned then and burned down. The pictures, they were burning books. Literally burning books. What kind of evil monster does that? It's interesting that after the evil monsters of Germany were defeated, you know how many books were banned after this? 30,000 books. That's what they banned after the evil forces were defeated. But I always wonder, what is it that they actually burned? Because I'm sure there's a certain religion group that was, mostly the authors of the books that they were burning. I have no doubt about that. I know that they would burn like the Karl Marx, Communist Manifesto and all of that. That was burned. These were like nationalist, socialist people, and they were still very much against the communists. So Karl Marx and all of that, and they had their favorite authors to burn, and when I look at that, I wonder, because I'm a curious person. Why do they hate some of these books so much? Why is it that they burn them? And I was always left with this idea of, okay, but literally, what is it? I get it. You burn the Communist Manifesto. All right, I get that, and some other traditional Jewish stuff and authors, but. Well, there's one here that, yes, again, a Jewish author. This is the first one. I'm not making... This is what I see in Wikipedia. This is the first author mentioned. All right, let's click on this guy. Look at that mustache. This is charming individual if I've ever seen one. You go-getter. Magnus Hirschfeld. Probably, yeah, a guy, an intellectual, along with his wife. Okay, with his partner... Liu Xingtun, his other partner. Okay, so he had many partners. This is his family. Here's familia. That's family in English. So, okay, maybe not the most traditional, father of four or whatever it was at that time. But this Jewish gentleman had some very interesting ideas about some very cool things, like Magnus Hirschfeld was a German sexologist who coined the terms transsexual. Motherfucker, this is the guy that came up with the word. This is the guy. So the evil guys were burning the... So he coined the term. He had... he looked to decriminalize all of this stuff, and he had like an institute where he would try many, many things with many toys. Literally, he had like an institute. Keep in mind that after Germany lost... in World War I, the entire country collapsed morally, economically, in every sense of the word. It was a rotten, collapsed society. Perversion, like we've rarely seen that. It's like the fall of the Roman Empire, where just depravity and was just widespread. degeneracy. Well, that's what Germany was then, and that's why these ideas became very, very popular. So the transsexual, but this guy is a pioneer. I'm not talking about this man. The perversion in Germany back then was like awful things that I cannot even say because of YouTube being publicly done in the streets. Mom and daughter on the same corner of the street. That was actually a thing. There were neighborhoods in Germany known for that sort of activities being solicited, mom and daughter at the same time. It is, and this is the lightest thing I actually mentioned because you have to do your own research to see the level of the depravity that was reached during this time. But not this guy. This guy was a scientist, like pioneering surgery, like the Institute performed some of the world's first modern gender affirmation surgeries. Love it, love it. I'm all for the inclusion and all of this stuff. Now, all of these books were considered very bad by the evil German people of the era because they saw this as you're trying to destroy our nationality. You're trying to destroy our culture. Now, this kind of sucks because, that's not what these... I mean, yeah, like Paul Ehrlich. Okay, Paul, Ehrlich, right. So Paul, in case you're not familiar with Paul Ehrlich, allow me to do a little summary of Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich, born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, son of William Ehrlich and Ruth Rosenberg. His father was a shirt salesman. Oh, lovely. Shirt salesman. Mother was Greek and Latin scholar and public school teacher. Eric's mother's Reformed Jew, German ancestry. Anyway, well, it doesn't matter. But all of this stuff, it was this man that told everyone that the population is too much. We need to control the population, says Paul Ehrlich. All right. Now, he was wrong, obviously, but will he ever admit? No. This motherfucker is still alive today, 93 years old, and he's still peddling the same bullshit. Check
you
this.
Could, just because there's definitely a generational issue in terms of the people who are in this chat and are watching. So if you could just briefly give it like the synopsis of what the population bomb was about, what you're...
He's still insisting that there's overpopulation when we're facing, what was it that it was called? The greatest challenge humanity will ever face. This piece of shit is still pandering the same crap. But you know what's very interesting, very lovely? When I look at some of the... Everyone is in the list of fucked. The fuck list is non-ending. Everyone is in the list. Every country... no one is even close. West, East, everyone, every single country in the world is not even close. Norway, Croatia. Well, you want to go with the United States? Let's go with good old US. Argentina, 1.51. Malaysia, United Kingdom, 1.54. United States, 1.62. Everyone is fucked. Everyone. And you go down to some of these African countries that I just explained. The numbers may be higher for them, but they continue to go down. So it's high for now. But there's an exception. Wow. Okay. So you peddle that bullshit, but you don't do it yourself. Okay, that's interesting. Why is that? Why is it that all of these authors, all of the climate change, all of the women liberalization bullshit, all of the agendas, all of the anti-family crap, it is enormously leaning towards the same group that promotes it for, I don't know, the last 100 years or so? Why is it last 80 years, whatever it is? Because if I look, for example, my country, Argentina has grown since 1960, a little bit over 100% increase of population. Argentina benefited a lot from immigration, also from a very strong Catholic culture up until recently, in which it apparently changed. But because of that, Argentina grew almost 100%, a little bit over 100%. What about Spain, Europe, Italy, France? Not so lucky. From 1960, 30% or so, and now, of course, in a very strong decline wherever you look at it. But, moderate growth in the last 40, 60 years, all right? Since the 1960s. What about the United States? The United States is a good example. The United States has been doing very well since the 1960s. Almost like 80% increase in population. That is very good. 340 million people. Great. What about the states that all of these guys tell us that we're overpopulated? Oh. So you increase your population 500%. You must be very rich and very wealthy, right? Yeah, because I'm sure as hell you're not a welfare state that lives off United States taxpayers, right? No. 540 billion. That's the gross domestic product. 540 billion. That's lower than fucking Argentina. Argentina has a gross 633 billion. All right. Billion. That's billion with a B. How the hell is it that Spain with, what is it, 1.7 trillion? United States has 29 trillion. And you still cannot have replacement rates? Your welfare state, though, they do have the highest fertility in any country in the world, while at the same time they happen to be the same guys. These are so many coincidences. I just love coincidences. I'm not saying anything, guys. I'm just saying it's just interesting. It's just interesting that after having promoted so hard, so long, for almost 100 years, promoting that you should not have kids, you should not have a family, a woman is not a woman, the strongest woman is the one that is barren and has no kids and works in damn fucking Amazon her entire life, but not what you do locally, right? No, look, and it's not even religious. It's just a very strong sense of nationality, and they want to see a lot of their own people. Sure as hell, it's not growing because of immigration. This is not because of immigration. Rather the opposite. It is throwing people that end up in other places, like the United States, like Europe, while at the same time expanding territory, locally grown population. That is very clever. I mean, the only thing I can say here is I admire the mentality. Maybe we should all do the same thing, okay?